Hey everyone, so this is Married at First Sight, Season 9, Episodes 5 and uh, 5 and 6. Um, Episode 6 is called Paradise Lost. Um, and then Episode 6 is called um, Real Life, Real Wife. Um, so in Episode 5, um, it's like the last 2 days in Antigua. So, um, Jamie and Elizabeth finally had sex. Then, on like night 4 or whatever, and then that morning on night 5, or more on that morning of day 5, and apparently he told her that he loves her. Um, and Elizabeth is concerned about having sex so soon and it ruining their relationship because it was so soon. But Jamie is reassuring her that everything is fine. Um, then we see Deanna and Greg talking about church and where they would like to go to church once they get back. Greg already has a church that he goes to on a regular basis, while Deanna just goes to church at home and watches it online, essentially. Um, then the couples do various activities during the last day, like sailing, or the second to last day, I should say, where they go sailing and snorkeling. Um, the wives then go shopping together and talk, where they bring up, have they had fights, and Elizabeth's while she and Jamie have had a fight already, she doesn't necessarily want to bring up the fact that they already had a first fight, because she doesn't want the other girls to gossip about it. Um, and while the girls all do this, the guys go play mini golf, where Matt says he wants to plant roots in Charlotte, but he is unsure about this business venture that he is doing. Um, it's like a digital what is it that he said? It's like a digital contract business or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's he brings up the fact that um while he's trying to do that, like he wants that to be successful, he also knows that like if that doesn't work out and he has to take another contract with playing basketball overseas, he will do that. And Keith says, well, that's a little bit selfish on his part, in a confessional, because he feels like, well, you signed up to be married and you're sitting here or standing here talking about how you're willing to leave your new wife, it, and everything, and it's like, but you just got married. Um, and honestly, I'm not that mad about Keith saying that, because he's right, because you just got married. Like, I get that you want to try to make some money for you, your wife, and help make money, bring in money to your household. But I mean, even if Amber didn't have issues of people leaving her when she was young, it'd still be shitty of you to just up and leave. I mean, you just got married to me, and it's like, this isn't the typical marriage, because if they had been dating for a while and this was, something that had been brought up, maybe they could work it out and get through it and all that. But this is literally something different. I mean, even still, I feel like even if this wasn't like atypical, I still feel like that would be a shitty thing to do. Um, so then it goes to Jamie and Elizabeth, where, after coming back with food, Elizabeth asks if, the guys had talked about fights yet, and explains the girls did, and she feels like they're already judgy about things, so, um, and he feels like, she takes people's opinions into consideration too much. Um, but for the time being, we'll respect the fact that she doesn't want to talk about them having fights with the other couples, because we have seen in previous seasons. I think the one with I can't remember which one it was. I think it was last season. Um, was it last season, or was it with Tristan and Mia, like in season 7, where pretty much everyone was talking about, yeah, I think it was season 7, where everyone was talking about how Mia and Tristan's relation, like their problems in their relationship were, and all their problems and stuff. So I think it was that season. Um, and so I get it. I get it to that extent, and which I'm not that mad about, because it's like, I mean, you don't want anybody, talking behind your back about you, about issues that go on in your marriage. I mean, you don't. I mean, not. I mean, unless they're gonna give you constructive criticism and like actually help you try to get through it and all that. There, I don't feel that. I don't see the need to talk to somebody about it. Um, and then it goes into the conversation. Jamie's and Elizabeth's conversation kind of starts taking a turn into catamaran trip, where it's basically just a trip on a boat to like another part of like another island that's close by, and Elizabeth is not at all about that. She is saying, well, I don't want to be all hot and stuff, and needing to take a shower um, when I get back, because you saw how when we were playing volleyball just by the hotel, I needed to take a shower, like pretty much straight away. Um, and Jamie starts feeling like, she's going into diva mode, which is what he literally said. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that term, but I do agree with the fact that he feels upset about her being overly upset, because, I mean, I'm the type of person who gets hot quicker myself. So like I just run hotter myself. So I understand Elizabeth to that extent, that she gets hotter quicker, and she just I get that. Um, what I what I feel like is what Jamie is picking up on is that she seems to be more of the type of person to complain about every little thing. It just like, no matter if it's a big deal or not, she seems to be more of the type to complain about any and everything, no matter, even if it's small or not. And like, even if it's like something where that Jamie wants to do indoors, where they're not doing any physical activity, where she can get hot and be overly hot, and then therefore would have to take a shower when she gets home. Even if it's something like, just sitting down, uh, you know, uh, at a bar or restaurant where someone, like a person is singing or something, or another person is singing, not necessarily them, but someone else is singing, she's gonna have a fit over it because she doesn't want to fucking go. So it's like, I think that's what more he's picking up on than the fact that she doesn't want to be doing something that makes her hot, because it's like that. Well, yeah, I get that part. I mean, I feel like it's more the fact that, like I said, she's gonna be complaining about doing things that don't even require physical activity. Like, so I think that's what he was picking up on personally, and to that I agree with him more than her. Um, then it goes to Deanna and Greg again, where she brings up about, Iris and Keith, or specifically Iris, um, bringing up the fact that she and Keith talk about one or two negative things that have bothered them in the last like week or two or whatever. And they do this like either every night or every other night until they talk about it. Um, and Diana doesn't really like having to talk about things that happened like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever. Um, she rather, talk about it in the moment so that it doesn't, linger or fester, and therefore it builds up and builds up and builds up until finally one day one of the partners, snaps and says something out of anger and all that. So I mean, I feel like I more of Iris, whereas I don't necessarily um, bring up something that bothers me in the moment. Um, and that has, I guess, has more to do with me and not liking conflict and all that myself. So, but I do get where was going with it, and I know I need to work on, not uh, letting things, fester. And I also feel like maybe that's part of the reason is because it's like as long as what you're doing isn't a habitual thing, and like, it isn't like gonna be long term where you do that all the damn time. I guess maybe I'm fine with it being like a one time thing, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, so then all the couples go on the catamaran, and um, go to this like secluded islands where once they get there, all the couples except Iris and Keith stay by the water slash beach. Iris and Keith decide to go on the trail, and then eventually Keith loses his wedding ring, but he manages to find it. So, I mean, nothing really happens there. So, but on the way back to Antigua, the water is choppier, and therefore the boat is kind of going like it's very choppy, and Elizabeth is feeling very sick, and trying not to throw up. And Jamie, um, he keeps making jokes and not doesn't seem to take how she's feeling sick as important. It comes off as unimportant to him, essentially to her. And so, because of that, she snaps at him. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily right for her to snap, but I understand why she did it, because I'm in agreement with her about that, because it's like, I mean, if I'm feeling sick and you're just sitting there fucking trying to make jokes, I'm not in the mood for fucking jokes. I'm feeling sick. So make me feel better by not fucking joking around. Try to soothe me to make me feel better. Joking to me is not making me feel better, because I'm not in the mood to laugh and joke around. I'm not in the mood for that. I'm feeling sick. So I understand where she was coming from on that. Like I said, I don't necessarily agree with her snapping, but I do agree why she was feeling upset. Um, so and then later that night, Amber and Matt have dinner, and he's like, Amber, if things don't, you know, if things don't happen with the business venture that I'm trying to get off the ground, what do you think of me taking another basketball contract? Um, And she's like, well, I don't think our marriage will work because we literally just um, got married, and if you end up taking another basketball contract after decision day at the end of 8 weeks, I'm gonna feel like, well, I don't know how we can make it work. And like I said, I already kind of explained my thoughts about that. Um, so just moving on back to Deanna and Greg. While they're eating dinner, they both find out that they're both homeowners. Deanna owns a townhouse, while Greg has built and owns his own home. But Deanna's open to selling her townhouse, um, and it leads into Deanna asking Greg if he's ever lived with anybody. She hasn't. And so he explains he had an ex fiance that he lived with. And so she asks him to go more into detail about what happened with that. So he explains that his and his ex fiance's relationship was toxic. And at least in his part, um, it was because of him and his part. At least part of it was his fault because he had insecurities and as a result had controlling issues. So he decided to go see a therapist about this, and he was like, he realized that it was just never gonna work out with them. Um, so Diana is, trying to be like, the past is the past, but the past can also hurt you. So um, she's a little apprehensive about what she was told. And then it goes back to Amber and Matt, um, before the end of the episode, where um, Matt had told Amber after dinner that he feels like she accused, because during dinner, um, Amber was, telling him that she doesn't mind supporting them while he tries to get this business venture off the ground. And so to Matt, that felt like she accused him of being broke. And it she came after his manhood and masculinity for not having um not be the guy, not be the person, not be the man or whatever, to be the one supporting them both. Um, so, but they end up talking it through, and it was just miscommunication and all that at the end of the day, like it usually is. And then that night, night six, they start to pack and go back to Charlotte, or they start packing to for their trip back to Charlotte the next day. Then into episode six, next day they go back to Charlotte, and then turns out that for the first time, while this the experts providing a neutral space for all the couples isn't new. What is new is the neutral space for all four couples will be in the same apartment complex. Um, so, but before they, go move into that neutral space, each of the couples will go to one of the people's houses for the night after coming back from Antigua. So Dion and Greg go back to her townhouse for the night, where Greg meets Sandy's dog, or Greg Tiana's dog Sandy, sorry, who is skittish around men. And Greg feels like that is pretty much a symbol of his and Diana's relationship, which is just going slowly. Elizabeth and Jamie go to Jamie's house, where Elizabeth keeps bringing up the fact that his house is very, very neat. Just okay. It's just like, um, why are you that uptight about it being neat? Like, that should be a good thing. I mean, I'm not the neatest person. I know I'm not. But I mean, you should at least try to be neat. At least try. Um, Matt and Amber go spend the night at where Matt lives, which is at his friend's house for the time being. Keith and Iris stay at Keith's house that night, and the next morning, um, Iris looks through Keith's things and finds an empty condom box, and she's upset about it because it's entirely empty. Um, and she feels like he may have been some kind of nymphomaniac or something before they met. Um, and like a nymphomaniac up until they had gotten married. And I don't necessarily agree with her because, like, that was before y'all even knew each other. I mean, it's not like he was. I mean, I don't think he was up in his house or apartment or whatever, just having sex with any and every fucking girl he could get his hands on. I don't think he was doing that. I mean, he just. It seems like he just fucking forgot about the box being empty in his drawer. I think he just forgot about it, and I think she was just making a mountain out of a molehill, personally. But um, then it goes back to Amber and Matt, and she is concerned because he, as she puts it later on in the episode, he's more transient and more the type to pick up and go and like move at a moment's notice because that's what he has been used to for the past like 6 or 7 years playing basketball and all that. So she's more concerned about that. When um, Pastor Cal comes to visit them, she brings it up, and Pastor Cal tries to get Matt to see where she's coming from with that and try to make her feel more secure. Um, Pastor Cal also meets with the other three couples. First was Iris and Keith, where he talks to them about finances, and Iris lets it be known that she still thinks of Keith as a stranger. So Pastor Cal is trying to get her to rewire her thinking about that, because Keith was only a stranger on their wedding day / night, but personally, I mean, they're still strangers in a lot of ways. Like, they're still learning about each other. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think that he was right to say that to her, but, and what also kind of, irked me about him in this particular scene was that he said that he wasn't necessarily tripping over the fact that Iris and Keith haven't had sex yet. But in almost every other season, they've had a problem with almost every single couple either not having sex yet or whatever. And it's like, why is it that you have such a problem with, Molly and John during season 6 not having sex yet, but you're not having a problem with Iris and Keith not having sex yet? I mean, is it just because of the fact that she's a virgin, or I mean, I don't know. It just seems weird. So it's like I really kind of need you to kind of make it make sense and like keep the same energy for everyone. So, because and I say that because later on, Greg and Deanna's house, he purposely brings up intimacy with them and how, Deanna shouldn't be, pushing the brakes all the damn time and consistently with Greg about having intimacy and stuff. So, like, why is it that it's such an issue with Deanna and Greg, but it's not an issue with Keith and Iris. So that's what I mean by keep the same energy and like make it make sense and shit, because it's like that those two cases don't. I mean, is it just because she's a virgin, or is it what is it? Like he didn't seem to give a reason as to why he said that, and so it seemed very weird to me personally. Um, and then Elizabeth and Jamie are the last couple that we see talk with um, Pastor Cal, and the only advice that he really gives them is that they need to do this sort of exercise where they're emotionally naked, and to meaning to let the other person speak without interrupting them, and um and not be reactive, be in the moment, letting them speak and acknowledge their feelings, essentially. um so they then decide to have the couples pack up the stuff from their respective apartments slash houses, and move into the neutral space. Um, and with Amber and Matt, um, Amber notices that Matt puts his toiletries specifically in the second bathroom, and she doesn't necessarily like that because she's like, well, we're not roommates, we're married. I mean, so why are you putting your toothbrush and toothpaste and um, shower things in the second bathroom? Like, why? I mean, and he's like, well, I just want to give you space while you did your. I mean, I don't know. I it kind of felt rubbed me the wrong way that he did that, because it's like most married couples, or I should say, all the married couples that I've seen, tend to have all their toiletries in the same bathroom. So I didn't really quite get why he did that, but anyways. So in the preview for at least episode 7 was that all the couples meet their in-laws for the first time since they left for their honeymoon. Um, and we also see that Matt wants to wait another 7 to 8 years to have kids. And Amber's not really feeling that because I mean, it's from what I can tell, she wants to have kids based off that reaction that she wants to have kids very soon. Um, and then one night, Matt still hasn't gotten home by 2 a.m. Um, and then the last thing we really see is Jamie and Elizabeth, at least from what I remember, from what I remember, they have yet another fight. So I have, two predictions for episode 7 specifically. Um, One is that um, I think in this episode, um, Matt was seen by his friends, or what I assume to be his friend, with another woman. And that's why he hadn't come home still by like 2 a.m. And I think the next day, after, he hadn't come home, his friend then comes in and tells Amber about how he saw Matt with another woman. And then second is, I think this is the other preview that we saw of Jamie and Elizabeth specifically, where he brings up the fact that um, she lied about something. What she lied about, we don't know, because I mean, or at least what I don't know, because I don't know what she lied about, what she may have been lying about, but I assume maybe it's about an ex. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of as to why she would be lying about something, is that she's lying about an ex or something. But you never know, because as we saw in season 7 with Mia and Tristan, Mia lied about all sorts of fucking things. So I mean, I guess I'll see in next episode what all happened. But until then, I will see you guys later.